There was once a man who lived on the edge of a forest near a river. Every morning he saw an old disabled fox lying down by the riverbank. The fox never got up and walked anyway. He wondered how did it get food and why didn't it just die rather than suffer and starve to death. Now then one day, he had only walked a few minutes from his home when he saw a tiger. He quickly hid in the bushes and peered out. It was then that he saw a very strange thing. The tiger trotted past and dropped some meat in front of the disabled fox to eat. The fox gobbled it down and rolled over onto its side to sleep. So the next day, the man went back to watch, and again he saw the tiger do exactly the same thing. How amazing, he thought. This fox just rests all day and his food is brought by the tiger. Marveling at God's generosity to such an animal, the man thought to himself, I too shall rest in the corner of the forest with full trust. I should just keep still and wait, and God will find a way to bring it to me. So that's what he did. He stayed at home and waited for God to find a way to bring all the food that he ever needed. But no tiger came with meat, and no other animal or person appeared either. But as the days went by, he got more and more hungry. He started to get thinner and thinner. He was starving. Eventually, when he was almost a skeleton, he stood up and tried to walk to get food. But he had only got as far as the river when he saw the disabled fox lying down as always, but eating its fill of meat. Angrily, he called out to God, I had so much of faith in you, but you brought me nothing. How can I believe what it says in the holy books now? And at that moment, he heard a voice. It was a deep and loud, and it seemed to come out of the ground. And it was angry too. O you who have mistaken the way, see now the truth. You should have copied the strong tiger instead of copying the disabled fox. Friends, this inspirational story is an adaptation that I've taken from the book Song of the Bird by Anthony de Mello. It's good to pray. It's good to trust in God. It's good to believe that there's someone who is always there to help you. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to do what you should do. Life is not about sitting around and expecting everything good to come our way as we expect. Like any relationship, prayer is not a one-sided affair. Developing a healthy prayer life means striking the right balance between our efforts and God's grace. We cannot shirk our duty by sitting on the mountaintop, praying all day and hoping that God will provide for us. We need to spend time in prayer while also doing our duties allotted to us in life. If you merely sit back, relax and expect God to do everything for you, you are in for an unpleasant shock. Dependency is the worst enemy of humanity. It always leads to anxiety and self-destruction. God blesses people who serve their work as devotion. The phrase, God helps those who help themselves, underscores the necessity for people to take self-initiative. Many have attributed its origin to Benjamin Franklin, but the roots of this phrase go all the way back to ancient Greece. God helps those who help themselves is a statement that really means get your act together. Praying and asking for God's help doesn't mean you become lazy, do nothing. God's help shows up after we have prayed and put feet to our faith. Sometimes we ask God for help, but then we become passive and we expect God to do everything. We excuse this by pointing to the fact that God will provide according to His will and in His timing. This is true. However, it is also true that this is not a reason for our inactivity. If you are in need for a job, ask God to help you find a job. Then go fill up your resume. Be active in actually looking for a job. Don't sit and wait for the job to come to you. Sometimes God answers prayers by saying, I have given you brains, I have given you the strength, the resources to attain what you are asking for. So get to it. God does not bless laziness. God blesses diligence and hard work. God does bless people who display initiative and energy. That makes the statement, God helps those who help themselves, half true. Now, why did I say half true? Because how do you explain people who seem incapable of helping themselves, who for some reason are helpless to get out of a situation like the disabled fox? What about someone trapped in circumstances that have gotten out of control? Will God help them or leave them? I came across this story one day and it goes like this. I dreamed that I was face to face with God, and so I asked God, there's so much of suffering in the world, so much of poverty, so much of violence, racism and sexism. People are treating each other so horribly. God, why don't you do something about it? Then God looked at me and said, that's interesting. I was just about to ask you the same thing. God works through people, and we are the instrument God uses to change the world, like the tiger did to the disabled fox. Friends, there are times when we can help ourselves, and we should. God is counting on us to do the best we can, pray and to work. There are other times when people cannot make it on their own, and God prompts us to help. We become the hands of God. We become God's answer to someone else's prayer. And there may be times when you don't believe you deserve help because you know you are responsible for the difficult situation in which you find yourself. In these moments, we cry out to God, the only one who can help us. And despite the fact that we are weak and afraid and that we have made a mess of things, God reaches out and picks us up and makes us clean. Even when we have made a mess of things and can't fix them, God extends mercy to us. There's a word for God's mercy towards those who cannot help themselves. We call it grace. So the truth isn't that God helps only those who help themselves, but also those who recognize that they can't help themselves.